Money attracts money. So if there's liquidity, it will attract people to use that liquidity.
Bitcoin, crypto,
Ethereum, crypto assets,
NFT.
Welcome to Not Another Crypto Show. Welcome to Not Another Crypto Show. If you're binge listening, I can only apologize because you would have heard me say that at least a bunch of times. I'm your host, Allan Scott. Sometimes we have the incredible Allan Scott, who also produces the show, does the meta tags, has just launched our fantastic YouTube channel. So if you'd like to know what people look like as they sip coffee, in this case, or if they've had good haircuts and great beard trims, then definitely go out and check out the YouTube. It's obviously Not Another Crypto Show, or you can carry on listening to it wherever you find great audio content. Although if you are listening via Apple, we'd love you to subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a comment. Any other channels, just subscribe so you don't miss a single one. And when I say a single one, I mean shows as good as I think this one will be. I had the great pleasure of speaking to our guest before this, actually, just to get a get to know each other before putting him on the show. I think he wanted to make sure he wasn't wasting his time with just another white guy on a podcast talking about crypto. So I'm incredibly thankful, as I am the butcherer of all names. I'd love you to say who you are and how you serve the world.
Sure. Hi. Hello, everyone. This is Allan Smith from Mexico, actually, co-founder of Maya Protocol. Basically, what we're trying to do here at Maya is to make decentralized finance a reality, specifically make cross-chain decentralized finance a reality, simply to continue on crypto's mission to separate money from state. So this is where we are, and we're contributing in our own little corner of the world. But definitely, I think doing taking the valuable steps towards that goal.
I love that. Whereabouts in Mexico are you?
Guadalajara.
So every year I go and live somewhere for 3 months. This year I did Thailand. Last year I did Turkey, and the year before that I did Mexico. Although I only did Cancun, so I did like Tulum, Cancun. I didn't actually go. That's not the real Mexico. Yes, everyone says that. So my plan for 2023 is I'm going to Oaxaca, Guadalajara, and Mexico City. That's going to be my 3 cities in 3 months.
Awesome. Let me know. I'll host you for some tacos or something.
I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. It's my favorite place in the world so far, and I travel a lot. Where to begin? I think probably the best way to begin is how you got into this space. What led you down the rabbit hole that finds you where you are now?
Sure. Well, me and my partners, we're serial entrepreneurs, and specifically, we specialize in scalable business models. And you can't get more scalable than crypto, by the simple fact that there's no borders to be had, no laws you need to abide by. Network effects are monster because people own their own network effect, so it's just supercharged. So we always were interested by and captivated by crypto, but we don't like to do things halfway. And we also didn't want to take something too large to chew for us. So we actually, just researched on the space, did a lot of reading, a lot of just testing stuff, all of that, but didn't really venture into something, which is a quick learning. Learning is great, but taking opportunities prematurely takes you off the possibility of getting greater opportunities later. So people that just want to take any opportunity that comes by, that's a mistake. Wait, there's many opportunities, and bigger ones will come. So then just last year, 2021, I was already a big fan of THORChain. I was already a liquidity provider on THORChain. And THORChain, basically what it does is connect various blockchains so that you can swap from one to the other in a decentralized way with no trusted third parties.
So the most famous version, would that be Uniswap?
Uniswap has a similar concept, but it's just within Ethereum. So you can only swap ETH assets and tokens. So although it's great, once you want to change to Bitcoin, real Bitcoin on Bitcoin network, you essentially go through a central exchange like Binance or Coinbase. So you lost all the kind of ethos of crypto. Like you're going back to a centralized party to facilitate the exchange. So basically, THORChain came to solve that. And there's two camps of people. Those who say, you tell them like, hey, now you can swap Bitcoin to ETH. And there's two types of people. Those who say, impossible, you can't do that. And some that say, couldn't you do that from the very beginning? And the fact is, both are wrong. You can do that right now on THORChain. THORSwap, for instance, or Thor Wallet are very good user interfaces to do this. But there's quite a few. But it could only be done since 2021. So like over a decade after crypto was basically created. So it's I find it mind blowing, and it's definitely a great history of the necessary innovations we had to get to this place. For instance, AMM pools that don't require oracles. That's something interesting. We need to get a better consensus with instant finality, like Cosmos SDK, and several other innovations that I think THORChain nailed. And well, I was just a normie doing some LP where when I saw this, and I just found it mind blowing, started getting into the rabbit hole. And then one day I heard a podcast like this one of one of the founders of THORChain saying like, hey guys, this eventually there's going to be like 2, 3, maybe even 5 of these things, because it's decentralized, it's permissionless, and it's actually needed to increase the scalability of the model. And as soon as he said that, my little light bulb went up, and I was like, I want to be second. It's gonna be named Maya because I love Mexican culture. I'm a proud Mexican, and if it's gonna be called Maya, obviously the coin needs to be called Cacao, since Cacao was what the Maya culture used as means of exchange. So nobody controlled cacao supply or demand or anything. It just existed from trees. And if you wanted to change, cattle for wood, you went through cacao. And it's basically what you do on Maya. When you want to go Bitcoin to ETH, you have Bitcoin on Bitcoin network. You go through cacao in Maya network, and then you went into ETH in Ethereum network. So it kind of makes sense also mythologically, so to speak.
And we know that with Web3, there is a definite thing about characters and storytelling and the importance and power of that ethos, right? Which you've done so brilliantly, explaining Mayan culture and cacao and why that's important, and because it was used for trade and it was decentralized and it can't be controlled. Like that right there, for all those that are listening, that's a masterclass in how to talk about your company and how to talk about how you got there and how it works and why it works. Because what it does is it creates something called fungibility, and not in the way that we think of NFTs or non-fungibility or non-fungible items, but in the way that we talk about storytelling, which is you plant a mushroom and it's a fungi, so it's fungi, and then you quickly tell someone else in the same way, and you tell someone else, which is how podcasts become popular because of word of mouth, which is how projects become popular because of word of mouth. So firstly, let me just say, well done on that. That was brilliant. Please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, that actually was kind of the start. I had to. It took a lot of convincing to get my 2 partners on board. One is a brilliant business guy and design person. Like he's those types of like a Steve Jobs of the how the corners need to be perfect, all that. So he's been my partner for 12 years. And then the other guy was our CTO of our software company. And at the beginning, it's hard to believe sometimes some opportunities and what you need to do and what you need to sacrifice to take advantage of them. And it took several weeks actually to get the thing going, get them to be buy into the idea and get into it. Obviously, I wouldn't be here without them, so I definitely couldn't do it alone. And we got started slowly but surely, every time kind of increasing the team, increasing the certainty. We raised some seed funding. Thankfully, we had some previous investors from previous ventures that were more than happy to get us going on this venture. And yeah, the more we advanced, the more we proved that we could do it, the more we started reaching out to people from the original THORChain ecosystem and around it. I have to shout out to Thad from THORstarter. He was one of the very first guys to believe in what we were doing and introduce us to so many people. He was key in us being here, and probably one of the most trusted advisors we have on Maya. And basically, what we wanted to do right there and then is just launch as quickly as we could. We're still in a bull. Do a stage net, test it, and then just do a very typical launch model and go out before the end of 2021. And then we kind of had a few meetings with some OG THORChain people of the development team, and they were like, hold on, wait a second. First up, we had some ideas on how to differentiate. You always need to differentiate to add value. But we were saying like, hey, first let's launch, prove that we can do it, and then differentiate after. But obviously, changing stuff in a live environment, in a live network, gets very, very complicated. Like look at ETH. All it had to go through for the merge. Whereas if they didn't exist in a live environment, they just put out the new thing. You don't need to do all the intermediary steps. So like first differentiate. Second, we want you to launch more thoroughly. And third, it's a terrible idea to launch in a bull unless you just want to do quick money. Because the good thing about a bull is you instantly hype, you instantly go up. But as soon as the bear comes, you deflate, you go and you die, and you just look like a terrible curve of no growth at all. Whereas if you wait and you launch in a bear, you can iron out the kinks and details during this kind of live environment that still has the training wheels on. It's very funny because you have lower volume, lower interest, lower stakes, lower funds. So then if you work during the bear and you don't die during the bear and you have enough economic incentives in place so that the network's effects remain during the bear, the next bull, that's where you get off.
You immediately have that hockey stick, which everyone gets excited about.
Exactly, and we've seen this time and time again. THORChain launched during a bear, and that's what made them also so successful. Whereas most of the protocols that launch at the height of the bull, of last bull, are not here today. Gotcha. So also a very important learning, I think, for anybody listening to this. And we could have said like, hey, thank you for your advice, but we're doing our own thing. But that's another thing. Listen to the experts, take the advice, make the most out of it. It was obviously disappointing to some of our investors. We had to change what they were going to earn with, because we changed the model completely for launch. We had to change the date on them and say, you can't expect an ROI until probably a year more from now. And obviously, for us, we were kind of working towards the goal, and startups are cash hungry, and just making ends meet. And now I need to make ends meet for a year more without any prospect of organic income. It was tough to take the decision, but we did it, and I think it was one of the best decisions we could have taken. And that's basically what we've been working ever since. We've changed completely how Maya works, such that although we do exactly the same as THORChain, and most of the most important things, especially for security, are shared and backwards compatible, so we can keep improving with them. We're already clearly different. We're launching with a liquidity auction that's super interesting. We basically give away 100% of our utility token. That's never been done. How do we earn? With a percentage of revenue, essentially, of the protocol, which is like the best way you can do this, because my interest is aligned to the community's interest. The more they earn, for every $9 the community earns, I earn $1. That's just amazing. Not I, but investors,
the company,
team,
and the investors and shareholders,
yeah, correct. And then we have liquidity notes, and this is one of the most important things about Maya. On THORChain, nodes have a lot of skin in the game because they have bonds in Rune. the native token of THORChain. The problem is that's a bit capital inefficient because those basically bonds are in a safe, locked up, not doing any work. So in our case, bonds are with liquidity providing units. So within pools. So our bonds go out and work every morning. So that just supercharges APY for all parties involved, decreases the capital requirement for a given pool depth, and then obviously with these two, we just increase the likelihood of success and the likelihood of lower slippage, which in the end is a major factor in increasing affordability and therefore demand of swaps. So that's basically the gist of it. We could go deeper on other things we've done. We will have another separate chain that runs in parallel asynchronously for smart contracts. You can't have smart contracts on THORChain and Maya on purpose. You don't want a startup nation within your central bank.
So true.
Yeah, so you want it just a bit separate, you know.
Yeah.
To just for security reasons and many other factors. But then we will bring smart contracts to this economy, which is great. We will bring IBC to this economy on the Cosmos ecosystem. That's a way to kind of bridge assets with the rest of the Cosmos chains, and just other stuff in the future. If you have the opportunity to see a roadmap.
I personally, I love the way you work and, you know, testing ideas, putting things out there, understanding the background of why you do what you do. You talk about the bear market, the bull market, and how, you know, operating in the live space when things are less under a microscope is a much better place to be because you can fix things with smaller groups of people versus large. I love all that. My question is, and it lines up with exactly what you just said about launching new products. How do you know, A, that you have an actual project to put out there or product to put out there? Like, how do you know that you've got that product market fit, that you think this is the thing that separates us and we believe this is the product that our community wants? Do you see that by is it growth the metric that you judge it by? Is it money, like how much has been traded? Explain that to me, and especially for our listeners. Our listeners are a mixture of people who are either starting companies like yours or wanting to work for companies like yours.
Okay, so I'm going to give 3 completely conflicting answers, and they're all true.
Okay, I love that.
When you know, you can't ever really know, but you can do the best you can to know. Okay, so let me break it down because they're completely conflicting. Okay, first is intuition. Like if this is some idea that you absolutely it just resounds with you, resonates with you, and excites you, and you can't stop thinking about it, and you're just reading and reading and reading more about it, and it just makes sense. And then you talk with somebody, and always talk with skeptic people. That's another takeaway. Like if you talk with a very easily excited person, any idea you give them, it's going to be great. We talk with a skeptic and you walk them through the motions and what do you think, and they start giving you what they think and why it's not going to work, and they don't convince you. Maybe you can't articulate yet why what they're saying doesn't make sense because you are not that deep yet, right? You're starting out, but when you're convinced, there's some conviction you have that you think you're right. You're probably in a good place. Doesn't mean it's a given. The second thing, the world is chaotic, very chaotic. There's a cool thinking framework called Kinevin, but it's written with CY and then F instead of B. So Kinevin for some reason. And it talks how there are processes that are clear, complicated, complex, and chaotic. Clear, basically what's going to happen. You just use best practices, right? And it's like running a hotel. Complicated, you need an expert running a fund. Complex, you can't know cause from effect until after, and that's what you want to do for your business is bring it from from the chaotic realm to the complex realm, so you can at least make some sense out of it and manage. But the truth of the matter is the world is chaotic. We don't really know what's going to happen next month at all. So you can't really know anyway. And that's comforting because nobody knows. Not only you don't know, nobody
knows.
So,
I love
so
that.
you're on the same spot as anyone else. So you feel this uncertainty of I don't know what the hell is gonna happen and if this is gonna work or not, because you can't know what's gonna be there in a year after you finish the project and ship it. You know, at least relax. Like there's some unknowns you will never know, and that is fine. And the third thing is that's not an excuse to say that we don't know, then we just do whatever the hell we want. No, there's information out there. There's people you can talk to, some people that can make some sense out of the situation you're in. So go look for those experts, go look for those people that have had the experience, go look for those people that fare well with uncertainty and complex situations, and try to make sense out of your situation to at least shed some light and draw a reasonable course of action towards the future. So yeah, when you know, you can't really know, but you can always know a bit more.
I love
That would be kind of my three little takeaways there.
What's great about that is people often ask me, like, how do I get into something or whatever? I always go, when in doubt, ask about. There's probably someone who knows more than you, guaranteed. There's someone that's made the mistakes you can learn from. There's someone that got it right, you can learn from. There's someone that's looking to do the same thing as you can learn from. Like the whole point of this podcast is to educate and entertain. Who is the perfect user for you? And I hate the word user. I need to find another word for it. But the person that is going to get the most out of your platform, the most out of what you offer, who are they? Have you got is it an avatar? Is it someone you've given a name to? Is it Juan and he lives in this place and this is what he's looking to do? Like how important is that you know who you serve versus who you don't serve?
So basically the end user or the last person that is involved in this kind of game, which is the Maya ecosystem, is swappers. Somebody that generally needs to move from one ecosystem to another, from one network to another, from one asset to another. And that when they do this, they don't want to go to the central exchange either because of following the ethos of crypto, because of ease, that you don't need to log in or anything, because of trust, because some people have been locked out of their exchange during turbulent times, or because of KYC. They don't want to be identified by their government or by their peers, or by the central exchange itself, since they can sell their information. So these types of people, they're more than welcome to come and swap on THORChain and Maya. The reason we have to is we actually increase the affordability of swaps by being together, although the protocols are separated. That's in chapter 6 of our white paper, which I highly encourage you to read.
Your white paper is excellent. Like I have actually taken the time to read it, and
thank you.
It was brilliant. So well done to whoever wrote that, or the team. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it took a lot of effort, a lot of people, and definitely a lot of time to boil it down to simple terms, understandable narrative, and everything. Yeah. And I'm definitely proud. And it's different. It's not this kind of formal, rigorous white paper. It does get into some rigorous thinking at some points, but it's mostly just explaining the why and the how and the what. Not only this is what we're doing, right? But coming back, that is our user. And the thing is, as government regulation increases, as privacy is more often attacked, as KYC is more implemented throughout, and as CBDCs come into the picture, CBDCs are central bank digital currency, which are basically government crypto, if you wanna boil it down. Cross-chain decentralized exchanges will be more and more important. So right now it's actually a niche. It's not a well-known, broadly accepted means of exchanging, but it will be. And well, at least that's my conviction. I can't know, as I've said. We won't know where we are, but this is my best shot at it. At least if I don't know what the future has, but if the future does have CBDCs, KYC, and smackdown on crypto, I know I would have, I will have contributed positively to the space and to people's liberties. So that's the user, but in order to have the available liquidity and the protocol security to serve these users, I have other two key customers or key types of players, which is a liquidity provider. This is just basically an investor. The investor adds liquidity on both sides of the transactions. So they, for instance, add Cacao and Bitcoin in a pool, and they get the fees from all the swaps that are repeatedly done, because the money is just moving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And every time they're just earning some reward. And the node, which the node basically runs the code of the blockchain and is basically securing the network by consensus. In this case, it's Tendermint consensus, which was rebranded last month to Ignite.
Yeah,
so whatever you want to call it, by 2/3 consensus. What is different on Maya from THORChain is that these nodes, instead of bonding Cacao, they bond LP units. So they were liquidity providers first, and then they kind of upgraded to node to earn extra rewards. But yeah, that's essentially it. LPs, these are people that want to make the most out of the liquidity. They're speculators, but they are kind of wanting to hedge their bets and also get some extra juice out of it. And nodes are essentially smart money. They're probably OG cryptos, at least 4 years in the field or more, and they are technology savvy. Not necessarily they are running their servers or their nodes, but at least they understand what the hell is going on, and can have protect their node, although maybe an employee or someone will run it. And these are large nodes. Like, you need several hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. In the case of THORChain, it's already in the millions to run a node. But yeah, those are more or less it. We need to be finding these three people. An interesting thought or a breakthrough from THORChain is that they said, the user, the swapper, is not who I need to focus on. I need to focus on liquidity. The more liquidity I have, the lower the slippage, the more affordable the swap, the more demand I will have just naturally.
Smart.
Money attracts money. So if there's liquidity, it will attract people to use that liquidity. So we're taking that also from their handbook and essentially just supercharging liquidity, which is the reason why we did a liquidity. We will do a liquidity auction for launch. That liquidity auction, we are essentially giving out all our Cacao, all of the utility token, to people adding the liquidity, so that we start with high liquidity, since high liquidity will yield high demand for swaps. So yeah, interesting things, and kind of, again, making sense out of a complex world. There's many variables you could be focusing on, and the key variable here, at least from in theory, is go to liquidity.
What do you think the USP is that you have over your closest competitor or competitors, depending on how you see the market in the space?
Well, my closest competitor and collaborator is THORChain. We basically bring a more progressive culture in the game. They have high stakes. They have to be conservative by default, so we can be a bit more daring. And we have just higher capital efficiency and almost double the APY for any given liquidity depth. But they're the incumbents, so they already have the liquidity. We don't. But at the end of the day, I also talk about how the protocols can collaborate. Again, that's in chapter 6. Because when a user interface, if they just, doesn't matter how much liquidity both Maya and THORChain have, but if a user interface chooses to route the swap to just one of the two, it's gonna pay more slippage than if the UI divided the transaction in two, sent it both to THORChain and Maya at the same time. They will lower slippage. The problem is gas. So if gas is higher, the double gas spent is higher than the slippage saved, then it doesn't make sense. but UIs can just, it's basically a simple algorithm just to check the savings with the double gas fed to see whether they should double route or no. But yeah, that our unique sales proposition there is high capital efficiency. We're collaborating with them, and we are just more progressive. So we'll have some new features that it will be more difficult for them to try out. Although they are also monsters, they're developing.
I was going to say they are
giants.
Yeah, they're giants in the space.
Yeah. A lot of our work is simply updating Maya to the most up to date THORChain. It takes a lot of effort because they're monsters. There are a lot of developers, and they really know what they're doing. If you're listening to this and you go and see, I want to invest in what the hell this guy is talking about. Maya is not out yet. Go and buy some Rune, and get involved and start learning. And we'll see you when we launch in someday Q4.
I love that you mentioned that, because that's my next question and last question. What does the future look like for you? What is your hope? We know you can't tell. We know no one can tell. We know the three rules. But for you, what's your hope? What's the sort of goal? If you go, okay, like a Mayan, tell me the future. Tell me what you're hoping for.
Well, it's to launch a protocol. We are right now conducting audits with Holborn, which is the best of the best in audits. We have our private stagenet set up. Actually, we finished our API this morning.
Well done.
Thank you. So we will have our launch partners and the UIs that will integrate us start running some tests there. Once they have integrated, we will do a public stagenet. It's basically it's Maya. It has real Bitcoin, real ETH, real cacao. It's just lower liquidity because we're testing and stress testing it. So, if one of the key call to actions for me now, aside from read the white paper, is when the public stagenet is out, just go and try it out for yourself, but with very, very low funds, please. Don't put at risk. It's a stagenet. It's meant to be stress tested. Don't put your life savings there, please.
You heard it here first, people.
And once the audit is in, StageNet is stabilized, and community building and marketing is at a right spot, we start a liquidity auction, and hopefully we raise some $10 million more or less during the auction, if not more. That would be sufficient to have enough depth for swaps to be affordable. But if we can raise more, that's great. And we start to get to work. Then we launch Aztec right behind it, which is the other smart contract chain, and just keep going. There's going to be some bumps along the way, as always, as there's been in the past. We've been working on these for a year and a half, more than a year and a half. But I think I'm confident we have the team to tackle it, and the vision and everything. So that's where we are. We think this can be done in Q4, but we'll see. And it's another thing. Like, dates are arbitrary. You have a community and you have investors, and you need to be sure to not waste their time unnecessarily. But if you need to wait more for security reasons, for community reasons, to increase your odds of success, don't also just kill yourself with deadlines. They can be changed. Just do it appropriately. In our case, we haven't taken any money from our community, in the sense that, we haven't done a pre-launch IDO and all of that. So we can, that's also important, guys. If you already have community money, these are hard working people that maybe put some money that is very important to them and for the future. So don't gamble it, and don't play with dates on them.
Yes. Well, we saw that with the merge, right? How many times was that date moved and moved and moved?
Yeah. But at least Ethereum was live, and people didn't, their ETH was worth something.
Yeah.
But if you do a pre-IDO, I'm not a fan of IDOs. Anyway, but if it's pre-product, even less. Like, I hate that. Like, you're playing with communities, people, like the community's money. Agreed. So don't. And then if you don't, you can kind of take some liberties in dates. Your investors will understand because you'll have good reasons for it. So we hope to launch by Q4. I think we're on track to launch by mid Q4. But I don't know what curveballs life will throw at us. So we're ready to delay that if necessary.
I think whatever life throws at you, you as a man, as a team, as a founder, as a co-founder, I think you'll be able to handle it. I think Jonas, whoever you out there, thank you so much for introducing us, for putting this together. He's one of our community, one of our fans of this podcast. I'm very thankful to have got to know through this podcast. And he hasn't sort of jumped by a project as hard as he jumped on yours. And he said, you've got to do this podcast. There's so much learning here. There's so much opportunity. And he was so right. So I want to say on behalf of everyone from Not Another Crypto Show, muchas gracias. It was an absolute pleasure. It was lovely to have you on the show. And I hope we can get you on again to talk to our community, to becoming your community and being a part of what you're creating. I think it's very important.
Thank you so much. Yeah, would love to. Looking forward to joining again anytime. I will be sharing with you a link tree where most of our most useful resources will be there for anybody on your side and your audience to take a look at what we're doing in one easy place. If you can't find the link tree, you can just simply go to mayaprotocol.com and find some resources there, or follow us on Twitter, Maya Protocol Eng for English, and Maya Protocol Esp for Espanol. Also, I suggest joining our Discord. That's where we have our community most active. We answer there regularly, and I'm always happy to kind of answer questions, share early news, and just engage with our community. So looking forward to see you all there very soon. And thank you for having us here. It was lovely talk.
It was an absolute pleasure. So we'll put the link tree in the show notes at the bottom of this episode, both on our YouTube channel and where all good podcasts are found. Make sure if you're watching YouTube and you're watching this, leave a comment, subscribe, smash the notification bell so you don't miss any other episodes. And if you're watching this, if you're listening to this on any of the podcast channels, it's getting so difficult now that we're growing into all these different channels. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and give us 5 stars, because we believe the guests we bring you are worth 5 stars, and we want to be working at the best with the best. So keep supporting us. Thank you. We're 30,000 strong. We only started this 6 weeks ago. We never expected the show to do as well as it's doing. And I think it's because we have great guests like we just had, and we can only keep doing that if you keep supporting the channel. So please do. Thank you, everyone. It's been an absolute pleasure. Vaya con Dios, which I believe means go with God.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Making a high-quality podcast like this one takes a lot of work. That's a fact. But not when you hire a podcast company. With our white glove experience, we handle everything for you. From guest outreach all the way through to publishing and promotion, we handle it all. You show up to hold great interviews and build relationships with your guests, and we take care of everything else. Podcasting is not just about the audience. Every podcast interview is the start of a new relationship. With a weekly podcast, you'd build relationships with 52 ideal partners or prospects through your podcast interviews over the next 12 months. Do you believe that 52 new relationships would help grow your business? We do. Contact Jason at apodcastcompany.com and let's talk.